Caio, my name is Ellen, and I'll be correcting these essays for you today. Let's take a look at what you've written here. This is about schools and whether they should be more entertaining or not. So here's what you wrote. Nowadays, many people support that schools should be more enjoyable, while others argue that the main school meaning is education. I believe in both views if applied reasonably. This essay will analyze both arguments and use examples to illustrate the points. Okay, on the whole, I thought you did a nice job of this. There are a couple of little things that I would change, um, but let me tell you what they are. Looking at this first sentence, I thought this portion was a little awkward. We don't really say that the main school meaning. That's not the right word here, so it's an issue of vocabulary. The main school goal would have made sense, but not meaning. It's the wrong word. And then looking at this one, I believe in both views if applied reasonably. Okay. Now here you needed a different type of punctuation. You either needed a full stop or you needed a semicolon. Okay. But even a full stop would have been just fine here rather than a comma. Okay, so this essay will analyze both arguments and use examples to illustrate points, not the points. Which points? Do you understand what I mean? So, unless you're using this to mean like a synonym for arguments, I'm not really sure, but reading it just felt a little awkward to me. So I would stick to something closer to what you've seen in the template, some of the suggested language there. So see if that works for you a little better. All right, I want to take a look at your paragraphs. Now, one thing that I see here is you've got 3 body paragraphs, which you should know we don't really typically recommend. We typically say that people should have 2 body paragraphs and then an introduction and a conclusion. I'm interested to see what you wrote, though, so let's take a look. Firstly, schools are the place where the child spends most of their day hours, which leads to tiredness due to long static period. Introducing new education systems such as music and games, the lack of attention would be reduced. All right, grammatically, you've got some problems here. For example, children are more interested in art and physical education subjects because they can interact and work as a team. All right, what happened here? Therefore, applying classes where pupils would have interaction could make their attention more constant and they more interested in the subject taught. All right, so I don't know what's going on here with your paragraphing, but something strange is happening. So let's talk about this. This first sentence was super long. Here it is, right here. So you could see that it went into 3 lines, and that's just too long. It became kind of messy. Some of the grammar was incorrect, and it was difficult to understand. So, firstly, schools are the place where the child spends most of their daytime hours, which leads to tiredness. Maybe full stop here. You've got a lot of ideas here due to long static period. I didn't really like that expression, long static period. Maybe you could have said something else instead, which makes a little more sense. Why don't we try it differently? So first, the schools are the place where the child, let's see, spends of most of their daytime hours statically. Maybe you could have said that, which leads to tiredness. Okay. Oh, or maybe not even statically, which still doesn't feel great. Maybe you could have said usually stationary. So when somebody is not moving, because they're sitting at a desk, whatever, we say that they're stationary. So maybe you could have used that word. Schools are the place where the child spends most of their daytime hours stationary, or sedentary is used differently. So why don't we try stationary, which leads to tiredness. Full stop. Introducing, by introducing new education systems such as music and games, by introducing, okay, the lack of attention would be reduced. Okay. For example, children are more interested in art and physical education subjects because they can interact. So now I'm really confused because this whole paragraph has 3 sentences, right? Well, now it does. Because we made this into 2 sentences, but I'm really confused. So I don't know what the central idea of this paragraph is, and that's going to affect your coherence and cohesion score. Because to get a good score in coherence and cohesion, you have to have a clear central idea. So let me explain to you what I understood from this paragraph that I've read so far. So because kids are sitting in one place all day, they get really tired. And then here you're saying introducing music and games would the lack of attention would be reduced. Okay, so introducing new games and music would improve attention. Okay, and then children like art and physical education because they can interact. So there's a problem with the linkage of these ideas. Now, I have to tell you something else. You really want to be careful with double negatives. That's what kind of messed me up here. Lack of attention, reduce. They both have a negative meaning. And so when you do that and you're writing, it makes it kind of confusing. So avoid doing this and prefer the positive instead. So that would have been so attention would be improved, or attention span would be improved. That's a better way of saying this. Okay. Now here you're saying that their attention span would be improved by doing these activities. But then here you're saying something entirely different. So I didn't really feel like these linked together very well. You're saying that kids like them because they can work in a team. So that's not really related to the previous sentence. So I think you needed something a little stronger here. Okay. And then this really confused me because you've got this therefore. This therefore really should have belonged in this paragraph. So, like I said, one of the things that's a problem for me so far is your coherence and cohesion, the progression of your ideas, the paragraphing for sure, okay, and the central idea. It needs to be clear. These are all things found in coherence and cohesion. So, when they create a problem, it's going to lower your score there, okay? All right, so let's see. Therefore, applying classes where pupils would have interaction. Therefore, no, get rid of the applying. Therefore, classes where pupils could have interaction could make their attention more constant, and they would be more interested in the subject taught. All right, so this sentence clearly goes here at the end of this sentence. So it kind of rounds out the paragraph. Let's look at your next paragraph then. Secondly, although entertainment would be a brilliant tool for catching the student's interest, all right, careful. Here you're using although wrong because although needs 2 clauses. It needs 2 opposite sides of a sentence, and you only have one side. You don't have the second. So, secondly, entertainment would be a brilliant tool for catching the student's interest. Okay. Classes where the standard system remains are easier to control. I see. Whereas teenagers constantly are associated with bad behavior and could turn games into a mess. Okay, let's see. All right, here you've got a number of problems. Let's see if we can fix them. Secondly, although entertainment would be a brilliant tool for catching the student's interest, comma, classes where the standard system remains are easier to control, full stop. And I didn't understand this. Teenagers constantly are associated with bad behavior and could turn. Let's see. You could maybe say here, for example, teens could turn games into a mess. I don't know. I'm not really loving this sentence, okay? And then again, there's some more paragraphing problems here. Although some subjects are necessary to explain and practice without distraction. Also, some subjects are necessary to explain and practice without distractions. For example, mathematics and physics classes are those where understanding the clearest form is through lectures. All right, why? Therefore, in this case, the student must be focused and listen to the tutor's explanation. Okay, so the one thing I really want you to do here is I want you to fix your paragraphing. I only want to see one good rule of thumb is to leave a line, a space between each paragraphs. So here, a lot of this is so confusing. It looks like you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 paragraphs, which is not a good idea. Like I said, no more than 4. So an introduction, 2 body paragraphs, and then a conclusion. I want to see you using the template a little more carefully, a little more closely, at least in the beginning, so that you can get the hang of it. Make sure that you've got clear topic sentences, make sure your paragraphs are organized well, because I think that for me, that's probably the biggest problem I see in this essay so far. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at your next paragraph. To conclude from the examples and arguments given, I firmly believe that if equalized, it is possible to add entertainment during classes. I don't know what you mean by equalized. However, not although, because you need to work on how to use although. You've repeatedly used it incorrectly. However, here would have been better. However, for some subjects, the common method is the best alternative. It is predicted that in the future, due to the technology expansion, classes would become more endurable through virtual reality, and didactic would be changed in many ways. Okay, you didn't mention anything about technology expansion, anything about virtual reality, so don't put it here. It's a little specific, and so you don't want to introduce any new information in your conclusion. It should just be a more general statement related to something that you said in the past. So, for example, it is predicted that schools will focus more on entertainment in the future. That would have been fine. Okay, so you should have a really good idea about what some of the weaknesses and strengths of this essay were. I want to go to your next one about the enjoyable activity with a child. So let's do that. Okay, let's see. Nowadays, some people claim the idea that playing with children might raise competencies more than books, while others believe in the reading power on individuals. Okay, the power of reading on individuals is better here. I consider that taking part in children's apostrophe s activities would be significant to adults expanding their abilities. All right, I don't understand that. Whose abilities? Adults expanding their abilities? Full stop here. Not a comma. This essay will analyze both arguments and use examples to explain the points. Okay. You don't need to talk about both sides. You already told us that taking part in activities would be significant. Okay. So it's unclear to us, since it's asking to what extent do you agree or disagree, it's unclear to us why you're going to talk about both sides. If there's a reason, like you're kind of 50-50, or you want to argue with the other side, or you want to say what's wrong with the other side, then you do have to make some indication of this in your introduction. Okay. Now, I also kind of feel like you may have misinterpreted the topic. This is not about the ability of adults, it's about the ability of children. So you have to make sure that it's on topic, okay? All right, let's see what you said. Firstly, books are I think you mean a fountain of knowledge. And one who reads on a daily basis might develop themselves in many aspects. Only being disciplined to make good choices and follow a routine until the book ends. All right, grammar is again a real problem here. You need to put a full stop here. And then I just did not understand this sentence. Only being disciplined to make good choices. It's confusing, and it's going to hurt your task achievement score as well as your grammar score. All right. In addition, parents have to teach their families. The time playing with children must be an opportunity to teach, improving the child's knowledge about a new subject. For example, fun moments are excellent to introduce new colors, numbers, and objects names. All right. Object names, not objects names. Object names. We don't put plurals in a noun acting like an adjective, and that's what object is doing here. Okay, so again, your paragraphing is really just all over the place. Remember, leave a full line between each paragraph so that I know clearly where your paragraphs are ending and where they're beginning. And remember to stick to only 2 body paragraphs, no more. Let's see. I didn't understand this. So you're talking about books, and then you're talking about playing, and then therefore it is extremely important that people enjoy their family time, sharing their knowledge with children. So yeah, I'm really confused here because perhaps you meant all of this to be one paragraph, but it doesn't really make sense because here you're talking in favor of books. Here you're talking about fun times with families, and then you tell us this. So there's not a central idea, and that's going to affect your that's going to affect your coherence and cohesion score. All right, let's see what you said here with the secondly. Secondly, books are excellent tools for studying and entertainment, but it demands discipline and concentration. Consequently, for a majority of people, the lack of these skills makes reading a boring journey. All right, people or children? Remember, we're talking about children here. Be more specific. So, because, people could mean adults as well. Also, adults who work with kids need to use skills to keep the youngsters entertained due to the child's necessity for information and attention. For example, children change interests quickly, seeking for learning. We don't seek for something, we just seek. But that doesn't really make sense, seeking learning. They can start playing with toys, which improves communication, and next drawing to improve their imagination. Parents who use to enjoy these moments will raise their skills as well. All right, we're not concerned with the parent skills, only the children's skills. This is the first time you've mentioned creativity and imagination. You needed to explore it more. We'll talk about it in a minute. Therefore, children's creativity is unlimited, and any person who is in contact will have gains together. All right, again, not concerned about the gains of the adult, only the child. To conclude from the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe that if adults have fun with youngsters, this may develop their skills and self-knowledge due to the child's apostrophe S simple approach. Okay, so let me tell you how this could have and probably should have been done. It's good to have one paragraph talking about why reading is so beneficial for skills. So maybe it's beneficial for developing vocabulary, and maybe it's beneficial for fostering imagination because children read stories with their families, and they kind of imagine these brand new worlds, and so this and then children take the stories they hear and they play games with them, and they imagine these kind of fantastical worlds and so forth. So you could have talked about that. And so you could have then said that this is why reading is an integral part of developing children's skills. And then you could have another body paragraph where you then say, however, reading is not alone in helping youngsters gain these skills. For example, when a child paints, they develop creativity, imagining purple trees and, I don't know, yellow penguins, or you understand what I'm saying. So this helps develop their creativity. Also, there are other skills that children can gain, which they can gain through sports. Throwing a ball with their parent is something that helps develop hand-eye coordination. Okay, and this is an important skill as a child gets older, or even using, crafts with a parent also develops hand-eye coordination, as well as creativity if they're doing something kind of fun and exciting. So, using a scissor hand-eye coordination, and fine motor skills. So these are some of the things you could have talked about. Okay, so I really want to see you applying some of the things that we've talked about in this video in your next set of essays. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope the information is clear. If you have any questions, just, write them in your email when you send your next set of essays. Okay, so thanks for sending this, and I'm looking forward to your next set. So good luck to you.